that, you know, needs to hit those high highs. We're finally into draft. Thank you for waiting with us. And we're back to the other overlay. So we'll see how we go. As same bans pretty much again. This time Kaiser being taken away from LGD, while the Ornn from Langxing feels good and bad.
Yep, Karsa definitely not on the Rift Hysterics, but I would expect LGD to pick up probably the Olaf. The other thing you can consider, right, is the Samira is still left open, but I actually think, again, there are a lot of ways to build compositions against Samira that do quite well. So the fact that V5 have banned out one of the two, like, S-tier junglers does lead to LGD just picking up the Olaf.
I'm glad it wasn't the Rengar in the end, but yeah, first pick Olaf looks a bit more standard here. Quay going to show us what he does with that instead of something like the Pantheon that was banned. But now for V5, if they want to go towards a jungler lyric, what, do you go back to the Graves? Do you just make that handshake?
It is Weiwei's best champion, probably. It's a matchup we've seen many times, so I definitely think V5 could lock in the Graves, and I don't think they should feel too skittish about going towards the Syndra despite their loss. They might, again, LGD can just once again try to draft a comp that has a lot of globals and just play away from Mole's Syndra. But I feel like things like the Leona, the Syndra, the Graves, you can once again build a composition that does very well in the team fights, is very synonymous with V5, and does have some more tools to play with.
Especially when you know that, you know, for Uniboy, he doesn't have, you know, some of the Zoe tools that we talked about, or the Orianna. Could go back to the Galio if he chooses, but for now, signifying the bottom lane, V5 having their priority once again. You talked about the Jhin, so Y4's going to show us once again.
Which is kind of strange because Olaf is really good into these like stronger lethality AD carry users like Jhin though. Of course, Jhin not really going to lethality build anymore, but very easy for Olaf to just run him down. Doesn't matter about the W or opening up the ultimate. Also very immobile champion, so I'd say kind of confusing in terms of draft, but like you were pointing out in terms of team identity, makes sense for V5, and LGD going to answer with another strong laning AD carry. Of course, Misfortune viewed as one of the better answers into Jhin, can just spam that E, use to make it rain, and Jhin has to play quite safe, and we always see a very early tier 2 boost come out from Jhin in this matchup.
Not going to get the support alongside it though, so bottom lane discussion, pause for a second, Lyric, because it is a takeaway from Uniboy to Mole Syndra.
And I like this from LGD side. Again, when we have so few, I'd say, priority mid lane picks, it's typically been things like the Akali, then with a lot of these control mages. V5, though, kind of signaling they're going to go a different direction, locking in the Lilia. So we should expect the likes of an AD mid laner, maybe something like the Yone, which of course has been played once and also being played in regions like the LCK and the LCS so far. But we definitely got to keep our eye out on AD soul laners for the side of V5.
I like that thought, especially when, you know, Mole in the past has been a very big carry mid laner. You also mentioned the Lucian before. Let's see if that turns into an option, into a bit of a skill matchup through the mid lane, Lyric.
It's definitely playable if they do want to go that route, Lucian having options against the Syndra. I would say it's still a bit Syndra favored. You have a few more tools to play with, but I was going to say I feel like the Yone would be a really nice pickup, but LGD reading that themselves, just do ban that one out straight away.
So what else do you want to see banned? Because you told me about the Yone, and I believe in your church, so tell me again, what does LGD need to get rid of?
To be honest, I'm not quite sure what else Mole can pick up other than the Yone and the Lucian. Maybe you can go for something a bit cheekier like the mid lane Jace, but there aren't all too many AD mid lane options left on the table. Of course, they could go for a facilitating pick like the Galio, which Uniboy did pick in the last game. And it doesn't matter that you don't have mixed damage. You can just play to kind of push the waves and support the Lilia with your ultimate.
And something that could get the Shield of Duran through the sleep of the Lilia. There's nice synergies there at the very least. We talked about this in passing, you know, I mentioned it, you mentioned it, and we both agreed that Mole has that carry potential, and at the very least, showing us the Lucian, he's going to take that matchup.
And this is just a pick that has been pretty synonymous with Mole over 2020. Obviously played it a ton in spring when V5 was a bit of a train wreck, so it didn't matter all that much, but now V5 having a better structure around them, having the mixed damage in mid and jungle. Hopefully we can see Mole take control of the mid wave and allow Weiwei to find a lot of the counter jungling and advantages that he needs to find on this Lilia.
And before we talk about the snowballing potential and the necessary need for V5 in that regard, let's just note that for LGD, this is building up for, you know, some good team fighting again. Colt on the Gnar, which is very successful in the LPL, not so much in the LCK. We need a support that facilitates that as well, and the set look no further.
And we're already seeing LGD going to, I'd say, a bit stronger of an early game this time around. They have a lot of early skirmishing options. Definitely strong at just kind of running the enemy down. Potentially some side lane option there depending on what V5 pick up. I think a good option for V5 here would be something like the GP. We actually did see that in the LCK yesterday. Con playing this matchup and showing us how good it is. But Longxing, though, maybe wanting to go for something a bit spicier, does lock in the Jace.
We have AD solo lane as Lyric, and the only AP threat here is really Weiwei.
And I think it's a good composition for V5, right? Putting more eggs in the Weiwei basket, even though he hasn't necessarily been performing all too great in a lot of these recent games, it feels like it's more down to V5's decision-making as a team rather than just, like, Weiwei making poor decisions himself.
I like it, though. You know, you've got a lot of volatility, but a comp that Lyric, you know, you can agree, this needs to snowball, this needs to get off the ground in lanes between those first and second items.
It's definitely going to be a very snowbally game from both sides, though, because even things like Lucian and Jace, they actually do both scale, I think, fine going into the mid and late game, because Jace obviously having options with his poke, and the LGD's composition not necessarily being that tanky means it won't be too bad, but still, there's a lot of, I'd say, kind of like fragile matchups. If these matchups win one way, they are going to win very hard. Lucian, Syndra, right? Whoever can get that first kill, it feels like we'll have control of the lane going forward. Same with the Jace into the Gnar.
And at the very least, you know, jungle gets influenced based off that. You've got an Olaf, you've got a Lilia as well. And we're cute on one side, we're hairy on the other. And all round, we're excited to jump into this second game. V5 in their home arena for the very first time in their lives. In Shenzhen, where, Lyric, you brought up the great point. This is where the World Finals is going to be. Is V5 going to be in it? 98% of our fans say yes, because they like V5 a lot, but can they survive if LGD whop them a second time? I'm not too sure. As we enter Summoner's Rift, after LGD, again to use that word, whopped them good in Game 1. Well, sir, it's a pleasure to be with you once again. I think the word is whooped, but I like whopped better. I'm quite hungry, and
I do want to say, going back to your last point, I don't necessarily think that fan vote is for which of these teams goes to World Finals. I feel like, it'd be a pretty smart to assume that neither of them make it there, but hey, I don't want to be the negative one on this cast, especially, when teams like V5 and LGD are involved. Of course, you were kind of the LGD spokesman last season, you super biased caster, though I can't be one to talk as, Mole is sitting on the opposite side of the rift.
That's true. You're kind of like the V5 spokesperson. You believed in them from the start of 2020 before it was cool. So, I feel like I jumped on LGD when they were getting towards Worlds.
Yeah, you're right. You're like one of those trendy like Seattle hipsters that is you're just drinking your coffee. You're wearing your plaid. What are they called? Oh, I don't know. Point is, I'm the cool hipster. I'm wearing my moccasins. I'm wearing some like weird Indian vest and like a cowboy hat for no reason. Okay. The equivalent in Australia is a Byron Bay hipster. You drink, stone and wood. You sit on the ocean's edge, the beach, and sit there in your thongs and your VB singlet. Maybe that's a bit too bogan, but it's kind of the look I'm going for at the moment. So I see what you're saying. I think for LGD at the very least, they're going to have a lot of support if they can 2-0 V5. And we're going to have a lot of Byron Bay hipsters overall if LGD can do such a feat, because it is a feat. It's a big feat. Again, a lot of casters, a lot of analysts rated LGD towards the bottom of the pack because of the roster getting revamped, because of losing the world's roster pretty much completely, apart from Kramer. We also knew that Kramer wasn't going to be starting early on in the season, so it was kind of another blemish against, LGD potentially doing well. But we saw in Game 1 that's obviously not the case. And then kind of looking towards this game, again, we should have a lot more, I'd say, brawls in the early to mid game. I'm expecting to see it be slightly more solo lane focused for sure, especially for the side of V5. You have a Jace, you have a Lucian. We know they're going to be playing around top and mid. Quay having some more options available to him because Chance, of course, can look for a very early flash play onto Y4, and then maybe you can bring Quay down on his full clear to try to punish at around the level 3 to 4 mark.
But it is going to be quick. We are going to have to keep our eyes peeled to how these lanes go and where junglers interact. It's a topside start for both of them, and Lyric, just to correct us, it was the flannel, the word we were looking for.
There we go. It was a flannel.
Our chat is about 500 IQ in the making.
Flannels and blue moons. Those are the Seattle hipsters. Or PBRs.
Well, look, I've been to New York. That's about it. I'm so sorry. It's Langxing, good trading in the top side here, into the hammer stance and bops Colt for a little bit. And this is a bit of a range matchup for Colt that he has to deal with, but there are ways around it. So, Lyric, let's start there before we talk about junglers. I want you to walk me through Jason Nah.
Yeah, Jason R, I think, is a very interesting matchup because they kind of function the same way in laning phase, right? Where they have very similar auto ranges. They both kind of play off of their longer range poke, as we do see here. The boomerang coming out from Gnar, the accelerated shock blast coming out from Jace. But Jace obviously having more options with the fact that he can follow up all in with the hammer form and kind of win out in a lot of these trades. Also does take the phase rush to potentially kite out the Gnar if he is able to get into a situation where, hey, you know, Langxing messes up, misses an accelerated shock blast, maybe a Colt hits Mega Gnar form. So I think Jace has more tools to play this matchup, definitely favored towards him. That's also a reason why we do see the fleet footwork coming out for Colt.
Yeah, the phase rush should be noted for Langxing, as you mentioned. So this is already starting to be a little bit of a CS lead. The push comes through in that top lane. Bit of a trade down in the bottom lane. We'll keep you updated as we see it, but Chance flashing through means I interrupt myself, as Clementure would say. Y4 flashing away, or rather cleansing after getting ignited down.
Summoners coming out from both sides, but obviously Chance expending more is nice. Y4 didn't have to blow flash, but hey, this is what we set up a few minutes ago. Quay could look for this play.
Doesn't get in the lane. Chance hits 3 though, so that means everything up and available. Garvey poking down. I think crucially, if we have a moment, just note that Garvey has PTA. Maybe not important as PP Gods are leveled down. They don't know Quay's here. Yolaf in a good position, but Weiwei just in time as Y4 gets first blood, burning down, but he has double buffs to heal on up as PP God is trying to kill Chance as well. Great Zenith blade, and Weiwei picks up the second. And V5 strike with 2.
And V5 just doing so well across the map, just drafting a bunch of winning lanes. LGD's plan, I think, was a bit telegraphed this time around with the bot jungle duo that we'd set up earlier. Weiwei able to play off his mid lane prio, get that scuttle crab, and then look for the counter gank in the bottom lane.
First kill over to Jin as well means those boots turn into potential Swifties with a couple of long swords, simulating the backs in the bottom lane. Everyone going back at the same time as well.
We do usually see the plated steel caps coming out for the Jin in this matchup, but the fact that he's already winning seems like he doesn't feel like he needs that safety and security. He, of course, has refillable potion and biscuits as well, so he should do pretty fine in those trades. And I think the interesting part in that last play was the fact that Y4 probably would have gone down, but of course had the Triumph, so did get a bit of that health back and was able to walk away scot-free.
Plus on top, the double buffs, you know, just for that extra little bit of heal if it was ever close. Nicely done. And also note that Weiwei picked up a kill too with the assist. So he's now got a bit of CDR, ability haste, I should say. And ahead of the clock in this early game.
Ooh, and I like the fact that PP God's looking for this play. At the very least, you can try and blow a flash from Uniboy. We don't have flash from PP God, so this isn't necessarily a guaranteed play if they do look for it. And Quay is close to the area, so I'm expecting PP God to just look to back off.
Especially if Chance gets shown here. No ward until about now, and Chance is going to walk right on over it. So PP God will spot him out. He'll go back to his own lane, or at least hover. And mid, this is where all the party wants to happen. Chance walking in. Mole, though, it's a Lucian, one of the hardest champions to gank.
Exactly. He has just a ton of mobility with that. E also still has the flash available, so he's not really in any form of threat. And we are going to see V5 just going back to punishing that bot lane where they did find their advantage. But LGD's here.
And you know there's a level difference because Weiwei has the sleep. The lilting lullaby isn't necessary because Garvey just gets crit to high hell with the Noon Quiver. Chance dodging away from the deadly flourish, but it's over in an instant. And V5 again add one more to the chart.
just overall great play coming out from V5 thus far. Pretty much doing what LGD did to them last time around. It is a bit more accelerated just based off the champions they've picked up. V5 are going to be able to start turning this into a dragon, and we're probably going to have an extremely early mythic coming out from both Y4 and Weiwei.
Absolutely, it's going to blow everyone apart. Uniboy coming in, presses the unleashed power, but doesn't manage to find the kill. Quay getting PP God is good. LGD come right in. No one invited them, but they walk in.
Nice job by LGD to punish the fact that V5 did have a bit of low health bars. Uniboy was already on the map to where Molt did have to back off. So they are the ones to pick up an objective. They get a bit of gold back into their own pockets. But I don't think that takes away from the fact that V5 are the ones closer to those big mythic items.
One item is so big in the meta right now, and you're right. With the fact that they're so much closer to it, with Y4 now having the pickaxe on top is still a very big deal, but at least taking the dragon away slows down the early soul as Uniboy takes the culling, the relentless pursuit forward. And Uniboy almost gets soloed out. Mole is a clinic on this Lucian.
Mole just doing a great job at controlling the wave. Again, this, ooh, as Long Xing.
Dodge.
Yeah, that was nicely played from both sides, but going back to the mid lane matchup, it is one where Lucian does have a bit of control early in the laning phase, just has more ways to push that wave. I'm going to stop because Hysteric's too many things keep almost happening, but not necessarily happening.
We knew this was going to happen, brother. We knew that this game was going to be about these laning phases. We're going to be pacing the first 14 minutes as fast as you can. V5 with a 2k gold lead, and it's scuttle, it's steal, it's vision control to lead into the fight. You're going to have a very tough early game, sir, and I don't envy you, but you got time, you got time.
I really want to see where Mole goes with his build, because a lot of the times we see Essence Reaver come out first on Lucian. Of course, it does have that the Spell Blade active, so dealing more damage after you use your abilities, which is extremely crucial for the Lucian. And usually you see it into something like the Gale Force, which of course more mobility, more assassination potential. But Mole already sitting on the early tier, so already I'd say a bit different from what we usually see in a lot of solo queue Lucians.
As Garvey unleashes a rain of bullets, curtain call in response, and you know what? My bullets are bigger as Garvey takes one right to the face. Both AD carries low and PP God not in range, nor does he have Solar Flare to change the fate.
Though, to be fair, at the same time, V5 are taking Rift Herald on the top side of the map, so the fact that Y4 was able to get Garvey low and prevent any kind of bottom lane dive does feel like a massive win for the side of Victory 5.
Yeah, it really does. Weiwei picking up Herald just means that, okay, we've got a lane to push and pressure and give bigger advantage. Where do you want to see this, Lyric? What lane is the most important if you're V5?
So again, a lot of times it's usually, I think you can think about this in two different ways of, if your composition is low wave clear and you're playing against the composition with high wave clear, I think it's always best to break mid-turn. You will see that typically followed in LPL. They don't really care about which turrets are almost low, but a lot of the time it is also about, hey, which turret is it easiest for our team to rotate over towards and take a tower in one charge? By that definition, it would definitely be the bottom lane, so I feel like we'll probably see V5 use it towards the bottom lane, but at the same time, it's LPL. I feel like teams throw down Rift Herald in mid far too often here, so...
Yep. It just feels like the natural order of things. Launching out of mana in the top lane. Keep that in note as we look back towards the bottom lane. LGD actually pushing a turret of their own, and Weiwei's here, but no one really there to follow up the push out of Garvey's misfortune, so a bit more gold in his back pocket.
Doing quite well, but at the same time, we have Gale Force already for Y4 as compared to 2 Long Swords and a pickaxe coming out for Garvey. And we are just going to see V5 rotate some members over to mid. This could just be where you drop Herald. Like I said, it is about where you can easily rotate over. It's not going to get the turret in one charge, but it will be pretty close.
It'll be super close, and Mole can just dash forward if he chooses. The rest of V5 here with the wave crashing in. Mole shares in some of the bounty as well, so he'll be closer towards his first item. And that's another big win for V5 as the 4th shot with the Gale Force. Not enough damage at this point onto Garvey. Good dodge in the end.
Still, though, now V5. Ooh, as Y4 opens up the ultimate.
1, 2, chance, blocking. What a bro. He'll take the 4th one as well, but that means V5 just push off the bottom lane of LGD to get more gold.
And again, this goes back to the fact that V5 can now just start playing that game of where, okay, well, we push in bot lane, PP God hovers over to mid to give Mole a bit of pressure, and then Mole pushes out that wave, you both go back towards bot lane, threaten to dive. Like, the back and forth between having these prio lanes is so massive if teams can identify how to use them. As we see a replay, somehow Long Xing almost died.
Why do we see the replay of him just at the low health?
I don't know. I like that. I guess we don't need to know how he got low health experience. We just need to know that, hey, Colt almost solo killed the guy that he's kind of replacing.
Also note, just on our screen, Uniboy's camera, I don't know what happened, but it's been blurred out like it's a sensitive subject, so maybe he threw it. Maybe he's getting annoyed at this Lucian matchup, which I think Mole has been playing pretty well. Chance in the bottom lane, meanwhile, the action continues. Have gone from subject to subject as Chance gets the face breaker onto Whiteball. The bullet time just out of range. The Haymaker shut down. Into the Gore Drinker kill. Quay does it nicely. Iron Spike whip to correct myself as V5 try to get the re-engage, but LGD have gotten one back.
Great pick coming out from LGD. We saw Y4 almost survive, had the Gale Force, had the cleanse, had the flash, but it wasn't enough. Too much damage between Quay and Chance. V5, I think starting up this Dragon would be a little too cheeky, but Garvey is recalling.
He is. He's out, and Uniboy has no interest. Quay has no interest as well after using his flash. He goes back to farming, so now one apiece in Dragons, and the Soul will be Cloud. So something fun for an Olaf if you're a lover of him. And we'll see as the ult cooldown reduction as well on top of that coming up.
And now 4v5, it's just about breaking down this mid and bot tower as Chance is going aggressive.
Yes, he is. Scat of the week, though, only just misses. That's unfortunate. Chance takes the brunt of the shot as Uniboy's going to get slept. It's bed time as Weiwei comes in with his cuteness, spins to win to watch out. He hits the sweet spot. And V5 with 2 more on the board. That's going to open up mid. That's going to open up first turret blood.
The 3-man core of V5 stepping up once again. Great engages coming out. Mole outplaying the initial pick that LGD are trying to look for. Weiwei follows up, lands some abilities, hits a sleep, but V5 aren't done, Hysterics.
No, they're not. Garvey's in a pretty bad stream right now, as they say, without a paddle, as he flashes away. Gale Force to get him away. Weiwei still has a lot of damage, but they can't dive him any further. That'll still open up the turret. And V5 just found one mid. Finding one bottom lane is just going to amount to so much gold advantage.
Quay trying to answer on the opposite side of the map by counter jungling away from Weiwei. So far, really cool series, right? Have a pretty dominant game from LGD in game 1. They did take it a bit more slowly and more patiently. V5 coming into game 2, changing up the draft, drafting more like winning in prio lanes, looking more like the V5 of 2020 summer, just trying to slam their foot on the pedal and win as hard as they can. Pretty cool to see what could happen if this does go to a game 3. Of course, LGD are not out yet.
No, they're not, but they are very far down in gold. 4,014 minutes into the game. The turret plating was huge for V5. And within turret plating, within the 14 minutes, I should say, Mole picks up the first turret. Y4 gets the second turret in the bottom lane. And these carries are now massive. There's a Gale Force now on Mole too. Remember, he's got tier stacking, so we're going to have a very big mid game, a very big 3 to 4 Dragon for V5.
We do still have a bit of time on it, so I do expect to see V5 just continuing to control the enemy bottom side jungle. Looks like LGD aren't going to back down, though.
No, they're not. Chance trying to go through. Weiwei doesn't flash away, though, with the movement speed. And Chance just trying to find an opening.
I want to see where Weiwei goes with his build. It's pretty interesting he went for Zhonya's first. It does look like he's indexing into the Moonstone Renewer, which, of course, has been very typical on Lilias these days. It's all about the comps you build. As I stop, because PP God just keeps strolling by. You know, he's just going on the typical morning walk. But going back to Weiwei, the cool thing about if he does go the Moonstone Renewer, I think it makes a lot of sense. You have a lot of damage and carry threats on your team already. The kind of downside is it will make your AP damage quite low, as you will just be a lot more of a heal bot coming in.
Yeah. You know, we already mentioned that he's the only AP threat on this team, but Lyric, while the second Herald goes down, I want to realign a little bit. Never mind, because Colt probably dies. He jumps away with a good crunch and doesn't get slept by the Swell Seed. I want to bring it back to what happens now for V5, because lanes are getting pushed out, all outer turrets are gone, and you have some pretty strong side lane threats that you can play through in these elongated lanes.
Victory 5 definitely going to play out with this 1-3-1 for now. Lucian can win up against Colt or Uniboy. I think Longshing should be in the same boat as well since he's already finished his Eclipse and Colt doesn't have his Gore Drinker as of yet. Weiwei can pair with either of those side lanes. I would expect and prefer to continue to see it being Mole, who I think is more accelerated. You have a lot of kill pressure in whether it is just kind of the 2v1 or the 2v2, and then you could transition that back towards the mid lane. Though the thing is, V5 still can play team fights. It just, I would say, is probably a bit more reactively, trying to kite them out, play at a range. It isn't exactly your best strategy, but it does go back to what we talked about in Game 1 of comps kind of having different modes and different ways to play the game being stronger.
And at the very least, you know, that mobility is going to be quite easy if they get put in that sticky situation, if they don't want to fight but have no other choice. There are a lot of carries on this team that can just escape. As we'll see now for LGD how Garvey gets out of this one. Good kiting as well with the last shot coming in though. The sweet spot, hit the sleep, deadly flourish to kill him. Everything used in the end, but Uniboy walks into certain death. And another kill goes over. V5 now just going to keep charging mid with a Herald that surely means inhibitor turret.
And this is a play straight out of the 2020 textbook, right? Getting that Herald, dropping it mid, forcing these aggressive plays. This is the V5 a lot of fans remember. Really clean chaining of damage in CC coming out from Weiwei, Y4, and PP God. Mole, nice rotation. And this is another kind of dynamic 2v5's comp, right? This is a throwback to the 1-3-1 that RNG played the other day where, you know, in these 1-3-1s, Mole's going to be pushing out this wave very far. Uniboy's going to have to go and respond. Mole's going to have a very easy time rotating over towards the mid lane. You find the picks, you translate it into the objective, and now V5 sitting even further ahead at, you know, over a 5k gold lead.
Yeah, they didn't get the turret in the end, but right, it's such a clean transition over to that dragon, which leads towards Sol. We'll have a look again, because Garvey had some fancy footwork, but there's just so much follow-up engage you have to look out for.
Yeah, the thing is, I really like the angle PP got wrapped around from because you wouldn't expect it since V5 are playing through their bottom side. So a bit cheeky from PP God. Y4 opens up the ultimate, they find that one, and then Mole popping in at the end to just finish the kills off.
After the kill, picks up an Essence Reaver, 2 items strong here, and you guys didn't see it, but it's actually 1800 in the lead for Mole over Uniboy in this second game. Plus he's 10 CS a minute with 190 at 18 minutes into the game, so he's had a very good game on this solution, a very good carry return, because again, this is something that Lyric said in spring was seen a lot when V5 were at their lowest. It's good to see when V5 are rising back up to that 2020 form towards the end, that Mole can return to this champion in style.
And going for that expected build as well, maybe I'd expect to see something like the Infinity Edge come out next. Again, hitting that 60% crit and gaining the 35% bonus damage. So
True.
Just going to be hitting like an absolute truck. And V5, they're just going to keep playing out in the same formation, right? You're having Y4 hold down the mid lane. You're having Longshing and Mole control the sides. And Weiwei and PP God being this two-man pool.
As Mole finds chances going deep. PP God as well, just talking about the core, has been a real core part in another part of this game, where he's been roaming around and has been part of that great engage. 6 out of 7 kill participation to be noted as well. And even though he doesn't have the same ward score as Garvey, is he going to get solo killed by Mole? Yes, he is. Wow. Is that game over as well is going to be the next question, as caught on out is the jungler in Quay. 2 kills again. V5 9-2, and Baron's about to spawn.
Yep, V5 timing that perfectly. Missteps coming out from LGD. This should be a Baron. No real way for LGD to answer, so I expect Colt to just keep pushing in that bottom lane. As LGD right now, right, you are praying for any kind of coin flip you can take. Pretty much, I'd say you have 2 ways you would typically play out deficits like this. If you do have the option to scale up, you can just try to only fight for the things that are like life or death for your comp. But when you're a composition like the one LGD has right now, that doesn't scale particularly well, it's about flipping as many coins as possible and just hoping one lands on your side to where you can actually start playing out this game again.
True. Whether it be that pick, whether it be that small skirmish that V5 are caught off guard for. Remember some of the weaknesses in summer were V5 into the mid to the late game decision-making, closing out the games, missteps and confidence. It kind of aligns into one. But we want to see V5 close this out as clean as possible and move this into a game 3, because LGD right now on a prayer the scat of the week, because PP God, he's still tanky enough though. Remember, he's got the locket. Ragnarok used, but Longshing here to back his brother up. Swell Seed not going to connect as Chance is now by himself. The watch out, Eep dodged away with a quick flash, but the sleep comes through and V5 are going to channel this up. The Deadly Flourish locks him down. Lung Xing with a shock blast over the wall in hammer form. And after hammer time, it's always good to sit down, relax with the Zenith Blade flash, which PP God doesn't connect. V5 still going forward. LGD kiting away in a 5 versus 4. Mole forward, he goes with a Relentless Pursuit. PP God just wants to get back in range, but V5, okay, settle down there. That could be it.
LGD need to take any chance they can find, so going for that pick is completely understandable. They didn't have Mega Gnar up, didn't really have the tools to fight, weren't able to come out, but Colt might be looking to go aggressive. Did go the Stride Breaker, has another dash to get onto the carries of V5.
Can he get close after clearing the wave? LGD have a chance, but Colt gonna get locked down, and away he goes.
Oh god, he can't do anything. He's not even touching the wave, Hysterics. He's not even touching the wave.
It's so painful when V5 just do so much damage at this point, and you know, even with that Stride Breaker, we got to remember again, there's so many dashes from V5 too to get away from the Nara entirely. And yeah, this game still feels like it's a closed book here for V5 with an 8k gold lead. Baron still pushing with the remaining members who didn't back away. And with the Baron buff, you know, this is already a 3k gold advantage, or Baron play, to say the least.
And V5 still just confidently pushing forward. The Moonstone Renewer up for Weiwei, so even more sustained for a lot of his mobile carries like Lucian, like Jace. And V5, they don't care anymore. They can just walk forward. They're not too afraid of LGD engaging onto them. They should pretty much win any fight, especially with the fact that they just saw Uniboy topside.
And Garvey almost caught out. Chance the same, and that could have probably led to the game. But they're going to go bot. Lung Xing, their top laner, is in the side lane. Colt ready to go in with his ultimate, but Mole just backs away. And Baron's going to do most of the work. And now, 2 inhibitors exposed, and both of them will be taken too.
LGD, they just need to go in at some point. You're probably not going to win, but it's not necessarily going to get any easier from here.
Yep. That's it. All right.
Just wait. Yeah. Oh, nope, it's not. V5 want to go.
Curtain call.
Wait.
Now, I think
no,
there
no.
were...
What is this?
Yeah, all right. Okay, next time.
Are they flexing? Is Y4 flexing on the enemy?
It's just the BM ultimate, because Y4's like, the game's over anyway, boys. It doesn't matter. This was the attempt you were waiting for, Lyric, but unfortunately LGD were just turned on in the end.
Yeah, LGD went because they did see Mole in the top side of the map. They weren't able to pick off PP God fast enough. And V5 at this point are able to turn. We can see on Colt, he's nowhere close to Mega Gnar, so V5 comfortably able to look for this engage. They, of course, have way more damage than the opposite side. And, you know, we come out of the replay just seeing V5 take the dragon because V5...
They're on to the PP God. A good scat of the week. Unleashed power needs to be used. And Uniboy, will he get the kill? No, PP God survives so much longer. Big shutdown. See if V5 can turn the play as Y4 goes forward once again. The culling onto Chance takes him, and Quay zoned enough to flash over the wall. LGD now in this lane are going to get hit by a man and his guns. But Mole's like, nah, forget it. I'll just go mid.
Still, Mole doing a ton of damage. Nice mechanics coming out from him. Pretty much hit every shot of that ultimate. Was a 1-for-1 overall. Both teams lost supports. V5 can just keep pushing forward. They are going to be able to take that top lane inner turret. It does look like LGD are going to try to respond, but with supers pushing in both bot and mid, they can only hold on for so long.
This is just good mechanical play. What do you call it? Good macro play there, at the very least. Dotting the eyes.
This is picking a bunch of winning lanes, and oh my god, the white flag. Oh god.
It's fair at this point. Stride Breaker used. They still can't catch Mole. He's slowed down. Flashes Colt, loses the ultimate. We've seen that from the Shy before, but that's the second one here in the LPL in the start of the split. And V5 now like, okay, let's open up the curtain call on the top side. Ladies and gentlemen, we know this game's essentially over. And V5 do as well. So dotting the I, crossing the T is what I was trying to say before, as culling onto Garvey puts him at half health, and LGD now stuck in front of their Nexus turrets.
And V5 can just keep on going. I mean, you could potentially play for Soul, but considering it is just a Cloud Soul, you're already almost 10k ahead. And a lot of their champions are at the strongest point they will be in this game. I think for V5, they should just force onto this topside turret, right? Try to sync up your mid and bot pushing waves, pull LGD across the map to where someone has to answer, and then just take the objective.
Yeah, easy as that, easy as you like. Baron's up in 8 seconds, waiting for that at the very least. Lungching's even going to back get the Manamune and the Serrated Dirk with Pickaxe. And there's no point talking about items here. Let's just be quite honest. You know, wait, you're right with the Moonstone Renewer, of course, but the Magi is there too, which is stacking up nicely. Oblivion Orb, which with AoE spells is always really, really useful.
I think one item we could talk about, assuming we're not going to see any action, is Randuin's Omen. It's an item I think a lot of people are wondering, hey, why are we seeing this item so much? Like, so many people are building it. Its active is just extremely strong. You do reduce the enemy's attack damage by 10% and their crit by 20% for 4 whole seconds. Its passive also just reduces damage that you take. So extremely strong on any tank, especially when you do have so many carries that are building so much crit right now with like Gale Force, Collector, and items along those lines.
And it's a 3 AD carry team, so, you know, Randuin's going to have a lot of usefulness.
A lot of value.
A lot of value is what I was looking for. Thank you very much. Especially since Lilia is the only AP threat, if you don't count Leona.
So what you're saying is Randuin's Omen is the happy meal.
Yeah, it's a happy meal. Yes, it is. Who's hungry now? Chance ulting back in. Is this the turnaround LGD? But, you know, Chance taking a lot of damage. Bullet Time lines up against his own team. And here comes Lungxing. Again, we knew this was over. As LGD put their best foot forward, it is a foot that V5 have just cut off.
Look, oh, actually, can you put, wait, why am I saying actually? It's a 1v5.
It's
this
done.
is done and dusted.
Hey,
V5 are going
optimism.
to end.
That's okay. Y4 wants a 4th shot, but hey, we're going to a game 3. And LGD may have had a clean game 1, but V5 send it right back on a golden platter in game 2.
This is where all the LGD fans and V5 fans come together. We sing songs around a campfire. It's 1-1. Dominant performances from both sides. We're getting a pretty good series overall, especially this one. A ton